The day I decided to check on my neighbor Wyatt's house after hearing strange noises was the day my life flipped upside down. Little did I know that stepping into his hidden room would force me to confront feelings I had buried deep inside for years. It started with a loud crash around midnight. I was in my living room in our quiet Portland suburb scrolling through my phone when the sound echoed from next door. Wyatt was supposed to be out of town for a week on a business trip to Seattle, so the noise didn't make sense. We had been neighbors for 3 years and friends for 2 of them, sharing barbecues, weekend hikes, and late-night talks about everything from work stress to our favorite baseball teams. He was 32 tall with dark hair that always looked effortlessly styled and a smile that could light up the rainiest Oregon day. I was 28, single after a messy breakup, and honestly thought I had my life figured out. Worried something had happened, maybe a break-in or a fallen shelf, I grabbed the spare key he had given me last summer for emergencies. The street was silent under the streetlights as I crossed the lawn. His house looked normal from the outside, the porch light off, the curtains drawn. I unlocked the door and called out his name just in case. No answer. The air inside smelled like his usual coffee and pine cleaner. I flicked on the hallway light and moved toward the kitchen where the crash seemed to come from. A ceramic mug lay shattered on the tile floor, probably knocked over by the wind through an open window. I cleaned it up quickly, not wanting him to return to a mess. That's when I noticed the bookshelf in the living room was slightly ajar. It had always been flush against the wall, but now a thin line of darkness showed behind it. Curiosity got the better of me. I pushed it gently, and it swung open on hidden hinges, revealing a narrow doorway I had never seen before. My heart pounded as I stepped inside, flipping on the small overhead bulb. The room was small, maybe 8 by 10 feet, but every inch told a story I wasn't prepared for. Shelves lined the walls, packed with notebooks, old photographs, and stacks of handwritten letters tied with string. One wall had a corkboard covered in pictures. I leaned closer and froze. Every single photo was of me. Me mowing the lawn last summer. Me laughing at a block party. Me sitting on my porch with a book. They were candid shots taken from his window or during our outings. My stomach twisted. This wasn't random neighbor curiosity. Then I picked up the top notebook. The first page was dated 2 years ago, the day we met at the community mailbox. Wyatt's handwriting was neat and careful. Today I met Matthew. He smiled at me like no one else ever has, and I felt it again, that pull I swore I buried after college. Can't let him know. Not yet. Not ever. Page after page spilled his secrets. He wrote about being gay since high school, how his conservative family in Texas had cut him off when he came out at 19. He moved to Oregon to start over, but the fear never left. Then he met me and everything changed. He described falling for my laugh, my kindness, the way I listened without judging. One entry read, "I watch him through the fence and wonder what it would be like to tell him the truth. But if I lose his friendship, I lose the only real connection I've had in years." Tears stung my eyes. Wyatt, the guy who helped me fix my car, the one who remembered my coffee order, was in love with me. And I had been completely blind. I sat on the floor surrounded by evidence of his hidden life and felt the world shift under me. How could I face him now? How could I look at him the same way knowing this? I stayed there for hours, reading every word until the sky outside lightened. When I finally slipped out and replaced the bookshelf, I knew nothing would ever be the same. Back in my own house, I paced the kitchen, replaying every conversation, every glance. Had there been signs? The way he lingered when we said goodbye, the extra effort he put into our friendship. I thought it was just guy stuff, but now it all clicked into place. My chest ached with a mix of shock, confusion, and something warmer I couldn't name yet. I called in sick to work that morning, unable to focus. The secret room haunted me, its contents replaying in my mind like a movie I couldn't pause. By afternoon, I had convinced myself to pretend nothing happened. Wyatt would never know I had been there. But deep down I knew that was impossible. The truth was out, and it was demanding I deal with it. Wyatt returned 3 days later, looking tanned and relaxed from his trip. He waved at me over the fence while unloading his suitcase, and my stomach dropped. "Hey Matthew, long time no see. Miss me?" He called with that easy grin. I forced a smile back, trying to act normal. "Yeah man, how was Seattle?" We chatted for a few minutes about his meetings and the rain that never stopped, but my mind was racing. Every word he said now carried double meaning. Did he mean it when he said he couldn't wait to catch up? Was that look in his eyes the one from the letters? I made an excuse about a deadline and ducked inside, my heart hammering. The next week became a nightmare of avoidance. I timed my departures to miss him, changed my running route, and kept my curtains closed. At night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying the letters. One entry stood out where he described the day I broke up with my ex-girlfriend Sarah. He wrote, "I know I shouldn't be happy, but seeing him free, even if he's hurting, makes me hope maybe someday." I had cried on his porch that night, and he had just listened, handing me beers and saying all the right things. Now I realized he was hiding his own pain. My own feelings started to unravel. I had always dated women but never felt that deep spark everyone talked about. With Wyatt it was different. Our friendship felt effortless, like breathing. Was that love? The question terrified me. My best friend Alex noticed something was off during our usual Friday beer run. "Dude, you look like you haven't slept in days. Everything okay with work?" I almost told him, but the words stuck. How do you explain finding out your neighbor is in love with you and it might be mutual? Instead, I shrugged it off, blaming stress. That night, I went back to the secret room using the key again. I needed to understand more. This time I read about Wyatt's family rejection, his mother's tearful phone call, telling him never to come home. He wrote about the loneliness that followed and how meeting me felt like sunlight after years of clouds. One letter addressed to me but never sent said, "Matthew, if you ever read this, know that my love for you is the bravest and scariest thing I've ever felt. I would rather stay silent than lose you." Tears fell onto the paper. I folded it carefully and left. The next morning Wyatt knocked on my door with coffee and bagels like always. "Thought you might need this after your long week." I let him in and we sat at the kitchen table. Conversation flowed, but I was hyper-aware of every gesture, the way his hand brushed mine, reaching for the cream. Finally, I couldn't hold it. "Wyatt, there's something I need to tell you." His face paled like he sensed the shift. I didn't mention the room, not yet. Instead I said, "I've been thinking a lot lately about us. About our friendship." He set his mug-down eyes searching mine. "Me too, actually." The air thickened with unspoken words. That conversation stretched into hours, neither of us ready to cross the line, but both feeling the pull. By the time he left, I knew avoidance wasn't an option anymore. The secret was changing me from the inside out, forcing me to question everything I thought I knew about love and myself. The confrontation happened on a rainy Saturday afternoon. Wyatt texted asking if I wanted to help fix his fence after the storm. I agreed, knowing we couldn't keep dancing around it. We worked side by side in the mud, the silence heavy, until I finally spoke. "I found the room, Wyatt." He dropped the hammer, his face draining of color. For a long moment he just stared at the wet grass. Then he nodded slowly. "I figured you might someday. I should have been more careful." We went inside to his living room and he poured us both whiskey with shaking hands. He told me everything, the version the letters only hinted at. Coming out in Texas at 19, his father's rage, his mother's silent tears, followed by the door slamming shut forever. Years of therapy in Portland, trying to build a life where he could be himself without fear. Then me moving in next door with my easy smile and open heart. "I fell hard, Matthew. But I saw how straight you were, how you dated women. I promised myself I'd never ruin what we had." His voice cracked when he described the nights he wrote those letters just to get the feelings out. I listened, my own chest tight with emotions I had never named. "I don't know what to say," I admitted. But reading those words, it didn't disgust me. It scared me because part of me felt it too. We talked until the rain stopped. He shared stories of past relationships that never lasted because he was always comparing them to what he felt for me. I confessed my failed relationships and the emptiness I always felt. By evening, we were sitting closer on the couch, shoulders touching. No kiss, no grand declaration, just honesty that lifted a weight I didn't know I carried. But the real world waited outside. My conservative parents were visiting next weekend and Alex had been asking questions. Wyatt's boss at the architecture firm was old school and he worried about office gossip. The following days brought small steps forward. We cooked dinner together, watched movies, and held hands once when no one was looking. The joy was real, but so was the fear. One night Wyatt showed me more from the room, photos of his college boyfriend, who broke his heart, and letters from his sister, who still secretly sent birthday cards. This is my whole life, Matthew. The parts one hid from everyone, including you. I held him then, the first real embrace, and it felt like coming home. Yet the misunderstandings started too. Alex saw us laughing too closely one evening and joked, "You two are like an old married couple." Wyatt pulled away afterward, convinced I would regret it. I spent that night alone, replaying his words from the letters and realizing how much he had sacrificed just to keep me in his life. The internal crisis hit me hard. Was I ready to be the man he deserved? Could I face the judgment from family and friends? The answers weren't easy, but for the first time I wanted to try. My parents arrived for their annual visit, and the tension was immediate. Mom hugged me tight while Dad clapped Wyatt on the back, calling him the good neighbor. We had dinner together and everything seemed normal until Mom mentioned my ex Sarah and how I needed to settle down with a nice girl. Wyatt's fork froze mid-air. Later in the kitchen he whispered, "This is why I stayed silent for so long." The weekend dragged with forced smiles and careful distance. When my parents finally left, I found Wyatt in his secret room staring at the corkboard. "I can't keep hiding, Matthew, but I won't force you out either." His sacrifice hit me like a wave. He was willing to step back to protect me from the fallout. That conversation led to our first real fight. I accused him of not trusting me to choose him. He fired back that he had lost enough family and couldn't bear losing me too. Tears flowed, and in the end we held each other, promising to face it together. The next week brought external pressure. Alex confronted me at the gym. "Dude, is there something going on with Wyatt? People are talking." I denied it at first, but the lie tasted bitter. Finally, I told him the truth, and to my surprise he hugged me. "Man, I just want you happy. Took you long enough to figure it out." His support gave me courage, but not everyone was like that. Wyatt's sister called from Texas, warning that their parents had heard rumors and were threatening to cut off the little contact they had left. The societal weight pressed down, but it also strengthened us. We started going on real dates, quiet ones at first, hikes in the Columbia Gorge where no one knew us. One evening under a waterfall, Wyatt took my hand and said, "You changed everything for me, Matthew. Even if the world burns, I wouldn't trade this." I kissed him then, soft and tentative the first time, and it felt right, like all the missing pieces clicked. Family dinner at my place followed, and though Dad stayed quiet, Mom asked gentle questions. The road was bumpy with awkward silences and my own lingering doubts, but each day the love grew deeper. Wyatt opened up about his identity crisis in college, the therapy that helped him accept himself. I shared my journey of questioning everything I thought I knew. The misunderstandings faded, replaced by a bond that felt unbreakable. Yet I knew bigger tests were coming. The crisis hit when Wyatt's ex-boyfriend from college showed up unannounced. Jared was charming, successful, and full of stories about their wild days before Wyatt moved west. He cornered me at the local coffee shop, claiming Wyatt had never really gotten over him. Doubt flooded me. Was I just a rebound? That night, I confronted Wyatt with the letters from the secret room spread on the table. "Did you mean all this, or was I just safe?" He looked devastated. "Jared was my past. You are my future, Matthew. I wrote those words because you are the one who makes me want to be better." The fight lasted hours, but ended with us on the floor laughing through tears. He showed me the letter he wrote the day Jared left him, the one that mentioned hoping to find someone like me. Family pressure mounted too. My father called, demanding to know if the rumors were true. "Son, this isn't the life we raised you for." His words cut deep, but Wyatt sat beside me, holding my hand through the call. "I love your son, sir, and he loves me. That's all that matters." The silence on the other end was deafening, but it was a start. Then came the betrayal I never saw coming. Alex slipped and mentioned our relationship at work. Wyatt's boss called him in for a talk about professional image. Wyatt offered to quit rather than make things awkward for me. His sacrifice nearly broke me. I drove to his office and stood beside him, telling his boss exactly how wrong that thinking was. We walked out together, stronger than before. Through it all, the secret room became our sanctuary. We read the old entries together, turning pain into shared memories. One night Wyatt pulled out a new notebook. "This one is for us. No more hiding." We wrote our first entry together, describing the growth, the fights, and the love that survived it all. The emotional journey peaked when Wyatt's mother called out of the blue. She had seen a photo of us online and wanted to meet me. The conversation was tearful but healing. For the first time, Wyatt cried in my arms, not from fear but from relief. The misunderstandings, the pressures, the choices all led to this moment of awakening. We were no longer just neighbors or friends. We were partners facing the world together. The final chapter of our story unfolded on a sunny afternoon in the park where we had our first real date. Wyatt packed a picnic and we sat under the same tree watching kids play frisbee. "Remember when I was too scared to tell you?" he asked softly. I laughed, pulling him close. "Remember when I found that room and thought my world was ending?" We had come so far. My family was slowly accepting invitations to dinner. Alex was planning a double date with his girlfriend. Wyatt's sister had visited and hugged us both. The societal prejudices still existed, but they no longer defined us. We had chosen each other every single day through the conflicts and the growth. That evening back in the secret room, now repainted and turned into a cozy office, we added the final photo to the board, one of us kissing under the park tree. "No more secrets," Wyatt whispered. I agreed, knowing the journey had made us both better men. The internal crises, the family tensions, the unexpected revelations all shaped us into people who understood love wasn't simple, but it was worth every risk. We stepped outside together, hand in hand, ready for whatever came next. The neighbor who once hid everything now stood openly beside me, and I couldn't imagine life any other way. Can a single hidden truth redefine an entire friendship into lifelong love? True or false?